Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. I really wanted to get this out last night, but was doing some other videos and hitting the gym, and before I knew it, it was like 7 o'clock. And because I wanted to tell you, get on board Bailey Smith. He was a bargain price. I hope you did. He nearly turned up. He played pretty well. Turns it over a touch, but he looks the goods. And he's cheap as chips in our forward line. But I thought, by the time I do this video and get it uploaded, they're going to be bouncing the ball. So I do apologise for that, but hopefully if you switch right on, you would have been all over it. If you had McRae, certainly a nice little VC type of action would have been good there. So look, I really did have in mind talking a lot about Smith, but I will branch out with a couple other discussion points. But as I mentioned, doing some other videos, same game multi, we got it last night, so I do two multis. You can check out my other videos. Got one going tonight if you're interested. Got one going for Adelaide and Essendon. So we're three multis out of four, and the one that didn't get up was Warple getting 14 touches instead of 15. So they're not going to have you retiring anytime soon. But if you're interested in a bit of a flutter, gamble responsibly. But you can get on board and have a look at those videos as Shorty takes a bit of a different approach for the channel at times. But SuperCoach is still kicking on, and this week I don't think there's stacks to talk about. I think it was all about getting Smith in, to be honest, after he had a 3. I think he got knocked out or something early on in the game, so it sees him at about 400k for a bloke. Without that score, he's averaging 100. How he goes when Dunkley comes back will be interesting, but I think more than ever this season we've just got to deal with the now. I mean, who knows who's going to play when and how many games we could get in before certain players return. So, look, I reckon that'd be the move I'd be making, and I did make it. Max King out, and I brought in Smith. But otherwise, what should we be doing? I want to talk about the captaincy because we've got Neil playing late in the round, Gawn playing late in the round, and Grundy playing fairly late in the round. And for me, it just became a bit awkward to loophole one of them, just in terms of having a available 0, but also I wanted to put the emergency on a certain player in the forward line for my bench, just in case, and Sturt, I'm hoping, gets named, so I didn't want to play too many funny buggers. So I've gone Josh Kelly for the VC. I think he's due. We say that so often, they're due for a big game, but come on, this man's a star. He's been good without being great this season. He's copped a bit of heat in the media, and the Giants have too. I expect a big game from a lot of their mids, and I expect Kelly to lead the way. We saw Cornelio respond last week, and I think Kelly could do similar this week. I expect him to kick a goal or two, get mid-20 touches, be hitting targets by foot as he does, and really have an impact on the game. That's what I'm hoping to see from Kelly. And I thought about maybe putting the VC on Cripps, but he's out of touch and coming up against most likely Luke McDonald. I thought about Oliver, but that sort of gives me the same issues as other players. I thought about Jake Lloyd, but I don't know. I just didn't have as much confidence. Where Kelly, even though it hasn't been going great, when he goes big, he can really 150 plus it. So I think Kelly into Gawn would be my recommendation. Dangerfield was another one that was sort of put out of action because he's the last game of the week. So, but yeah, I just want to discuss a bit of captaincy options. In terms of a few guys that obviously we missed the boat on Smith. Well, hopefully you didn't, but Shorty SuperCoach video-wise, we missed the boat. So try and repay the faith. I reckon you guys should be definitely looking out for a few fallen premiums like Smith did because of an injury, and it's Tommy Stewart. I'm pretty sure he's coming back this week by all reports. He'll be cheap as chips. He could be around 400k, give or take, depending how he scores in the next couple of weeks. He's coming off an 18 when he hurt himself. Mitch Duncan as well is coming off like a 10. Now, he's not an absolute premium, but he was averaging about 115. I think we can probably expect 105 average for the rest of the season, more or less. But he's a very good player, and I think if we can snap him up, and even if we have to upgrade him later in the year, like I said, there's no better example than to trade in the present and, treat everything right here, right now. And it's so much harder to plan this season with, we just got given 4 trades. We just got a fixture out. Who knows what's going on? So if you can get a bloke in who's cheap, can average 105, Could just end up being M7, M8. I'd just do it if the price is right for the minute. And I also think Nat Fyfe coming up, we all know, got to keep an eye out for him. Now, Tom Mitchell, don't let him go under the radar. Scored an 83 last week, and he's got a break even about 140. Just keep an eye on him. I think we so often get sucked into the hot players, and that's fine, but it's always good to think about who's going to get hot. And I think Tom Mitchell is still a star of our game. He hasn't lit the world on fire in these first 7 rounds. He's been really consistent, but I reckon if he drops to 560, 570, it's not bad. I mean, yeah, it's not cheap as chips, but sometimes it's hard to reach the McRae's, and Neil gets away from us, and oh shit, Treloar, he's well past what I wanted to get him at by now, sort of thing. So Mitchell, I think, is going to be one of the top scorers for the season, and you can get him at a reasonable price. Probably, he's reasonable now, but he should drop again, one would imagine. Zach Williams, one of my favourite players in the competition, he'll be dropping soon. He should be back in about a week. He might miss maybe 1 or 2 more games for the Giants, depending how their crazy fixture works in. I'm not sure what day of the week they're playing, but he'll be a great acquisition to your forward line at some stage, or your back line even, I should say. One of my favourite players, but don't even know what position he's in. But I think he's going to be cheap. And I know he had a bit of a slow start. I don't think he's gone much past 80. But I know he was on his last score of 77, I think, was against Collingwood. He looked great. I reckon he went off third quarter. So he, if you wanted a bit of encouragement as to, yes, he can still score, he was flying. He was looking great. In the forward line, I think Simpkin is certainly going to look like a guy that we can snap up pretty soon. And I think Michael Walters is well priced also. I mean, he's well known for going massive, and he's yet to go massive aside from maybe round 1 or 2. He's just been real consistent with a 90 and a 110 sort of deal, which means he's slowly dropped in price. Nothing dramatic. He's been a good selection if you've got him, but I think we all know that he's capable of going massive. And when Fife's back in, perhaps he gets a little less attention as well. So just something to think about. But there are a few names that have certainly been on my radar, and a few guys that I'm looking at upgrading too. In terms of downgrade, there's not stacks. Andrew McPherson's the only one that really comes to mind that I like, because I watched him, and yes, he's not basement at the moment or anymore, and he is on an extended bench, but I'd be shocked if he got dropped. I thought he looked really solid. Seems to get a few nice easy kicks as the Crows exit the back line, lays a few tackles. So I think he's not a bad option, to be honest. So just keep an eye on if he does get named. But I reckon that he's probably, if you're looking for a downgrade, he's in our back lines. It's pretty slim pickings otherwise. We'll get options coming up. There will be options, we know that, particularly with the way the fixtures and short breaks. There will be young guys who get a chance. So we just got to be patient, because at the moment, there's a lot of guys that have played a few games, 4, 5. They haven't really peaked, but they're out of favour. They're out of the side. Our benches, I don't know about yours, but mine's looking pretty bare. On the field, I'm really pleased. I'm hoping to crack into the top 10,000 after this week. On field, I'm looking good. But otherwise, geez, it's slim on the bench, I tell you. So anyway, all the best. Don't be afraid to take a bit of risk with your VC option, because I think it's an opportunity to really get ahead of some others, given that most people will probably just go safe and just whack it on one of those guys on the Sunday, because it can get a little bit messy with floating zeros, and you've got to be right on with your timing on a Sunday, given the way the games pan out. And I just think, don't be afraid to have a bit of a crack at it with someone that you might not normally, because I think we can safely put it on Neil, Grundy, or Gawn. It's a safe outlet for us, but don't be afraid to take a bit of a risk on someone else. Josh Kelly's my man. Let's hope he goes big tonight. Cheers.